joined now by the winner of the Coca-Cola 600 last night, Brad Keselowski. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. The Coca-Cola 600 was actually the Coca-Cola 607-mile race last night. You win the longest race in NASCAR history. What was that like?
Long. Yeah, 600 miles is a brutal race, over 4.5 hours. And, we started, I think, at 6 o'clock, and we didn't end until after midnight. So there was a small little rain fill in there, but, it's a tough race. It's so grueling. I stepped on the scale this morning. I lost over 6 pounds and said, cover on that before I get back Wednesday. But, it's a tough one. It's a big race to win. It's one of the crown jewels of NASCAR. It's one of the older races on the sport or in the sport. And I hadn't won it until last night, so it feels so good to check that one off of my career bucket list. And don't worry, I'm going to try to win it again. But the first one is sure special, guys.
Hey, crazy finish last night. Chase Elliott is actually winning with 2 laps to go. Caution flag comes out. He decides to pit. You decide to stay on the track. Talk us through what the decision-making was like. Surprised he pit, or I guess he had no choice.
Yeah, it's a tough call. When you're leading these races at the end and you get that late race yellow, you just know the field is going to do whatever they can to try to take you down. And, here you see William Byron spinning out. He had a flat tire. And, Chase and his team had to make a tough call. And I've been in those shoes, and it seems like sometimes you just can't make the right call. Whatever you do, everybody does the opposite, and you get taken advantage of. And it just didn't play out his way. I've lost races that way, so I can sympathize for it. And last night it went our way, where we were able to get the stretch, run in second, and Chase had passed us. He was clearly one of the better cars, and we were able to kind of sneak this one through. But you win some, lose some that way. It's all part of it.
Now, Brad, you mentioned it. You finally were able to check that box, your first Coca-Cola 600 win, but there are no fans there to see it. What was that infield experience like after the win?
Yeah. It's definitely different, Marcellus. I think that I look at racing and I think to myself, in the current climate we're in, that I'm just so glad we're able to race. You look at where most pro sports are, where they can't even compete. I'm glad that we were able to compete, and I try to count our blessings and be thankful for them. And, I think you look at the sports landscape, and, certainly it's been dramatically affected, but not as much as some other landscapes. So try to remember how fortunate I am to be a race car driver and to be able to compete in major events like the Coke 600. I certainly miss the fans, and we want them back, but we want everybody to be safe and do it as healthily as possible. And we want to make sure that we're welcome in these states that let us race, like North Carolina did. And in order to do that, we can't be getting other people sick. So I'm glad that we're able to get the race in. And in this format, it's very likely no one got sick. So that's a good thing, I think.
And we were able to see a truly special moment. You're known for waving a giant American flag outside the car window after a win. How cool was it to do that on Memorial Day?
Yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I can tell you that. This is my 11th time running that race and my first time winning it. And I've led a lot of laps, sat on the pole, done a lot of great things in that race. But having checked this part of it off, the actual win, at the end, that's a pretty important part. And Memorial Day, with NASCAR is always something that's going to be really close to our hearts, because NASCAR was founded in 1948 by a bunch of men and women who just got back from serving in World War II. And, with respect to that, they're very well connected to what it means to be American. And we want to keep that tradition and honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice, which is what Memorial Day is all about, the best way we know how. And whether it's the American flag or the name of a fallen soldier on the windshield of all the cars this year, these seem like the least we can do. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
Brad, you mentioned losing 6 pounds during the race, but this was also your third race in 7 days. You're back at it again Wednesday in Charlotte. How are you feeling physically, and how tough is this constant schedule?
Well, yeah, especially coming off of a 600-mile race. I think, Jason, you look back at the old days of the sport, and they used to race 2 or 3 times a week, but the races were much, much. And back then, even when they did have a long race, it was really common where they would have backup drivers and they would, switch in the middle of the race. And obviously we're not doing that anymore. So I think probably what stands out to me is just trying to get those recoveries in, trying to get a good workout in, trying to eat and regain their weight, and most importantly, stay hydrated during the stretch. So a really tough stretch on the drivers. And of course, then we go to Bristol, Tennessee, which is a really demanding track physically. This is a true test of the athleticism of all the drivers and their ability to endure a really tough climate and environment that I don't know if we've ever seen before.
Brad, we'll let you go on this. I'm an old Indianapolis boy. I'm 53 years old. I grew up at the Indy 500. Roger Penske, to me, the greatest name in racing. Now, a lot of success over in NASCAR. You guys won the Cup Series in 2012. I consider Team Penske the greatest name, the greatest team in auto racing. I'm teeing you up here. Penske, you've raced for Dale Jr. To me, am I wrong for thinking of Penske as the gold standard for racing?
Well, we'd like to think so. I'm sure there's a couple of our owners that would maybe argue a little bit differently on that point. But, Roger Penske has done so much. He's got more rings on his fingers from race wins and big race wins, not just race wins, than he's got fingers and toes. But I'm proud to add to that legacy and hope I get to do so for years to come. And we're really proud to have him as the car owner and a guy, heck of a guy, and proud to call him boss.
Thank you, Brad. Congratulations. Hopefully you'll be back in the winner's circle on Wednesday.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak for Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.